Welcome to the Mobycon Academy Spotlight sessions, where we shine the light on the unseen heroes of the Dutch transportation system. And today we're going to talk about bakfietsen, or cargo bikes. I'm joined by Anna Luten, who is our marketing advisor from New York City. And she is over from New York to visit us here in the Delft office, and she's got some insights into what she's seen on the Dutch streets. What did you see on your trip so far?
Well, thank you, Leonard. Well, you can see here is a bakfiets, or with other words, a cargo bike. And this has absolutely been the highlight of my stay here over the last few weeks. Being able to cycle with my own kids in a cargo bike everywhere, actually, where we just went, like if it was to the beach or visiting like a farm or just doing groceries. It was a true pleasure. And it's incredible to see that we have built this infrastructure here. And I'm Dutch. I grew up here, but I moved to the US around 10 years ago. And this is not something I would do actually there. And I really miss it, especially after this experience here. It's really fun. It's like...
Just for context, how old are your kids?
They are, let me think, 2.5 and 4.5.
Right. And they both fit in the cargo bike?
They both fit in the cargo bike, and they were both smiling I think we biked for probably 20 miles a day or like 30 miles a day, and they were smiling. They were having great conversations. Nice. We got to see everything. We even had to put in like some music because otherwise they would fall asleep. It was really fun.
Nice. And this is not something you would do in New York?
I wish. Yeah. My husband is Dutch too, and I really want a cargo bike, and you see them more and more nowadays in the streets. I live in New York City, but he thinks, and I actually agree with him, that it's still not safe enough. I have actually many friends who ride cargo bikes, but it's like I would only do it on certain streets and not everywhere, and that's a shame because it's such a good thing, like to have a cargo bike instead of a car, for example, because you can do everything with it. You don't need a car anymore with a cargo bike, so it can replace it.
It's actually a full vehicle replacement, not just a nice to have addition.
No, definitely not. It's a good option. I would right now consider probably a long tail bike, which you don't see here that much. But just because I don't know. It feels still a little bit uncertain to ride a cargo bike in New York City. Yeah.
And so that's kind of covering what it is and what it's brought you and your family while you were here. Is it something we need in North America?
Yes,
Why?
Definitely. Yes.
You got cars, right? Kids love cars.
Yeah, we have many cars and huge cars. There's so many SUVs, and I think the cars are only getting bigger and bigger. Apparently, they are actually getting bigger. And the roads are not necessarily getting wider. But it's just, with all those cars, it's not doable anymore. Like, we have too many people in the streets. So if you replace some of the cars for, let's say, normal, bicyclists, some cargo bikes, you do deliveries also, like for delivery companies, it's a great solution. It would just, more people will fit on the streets.
Right. So it's a spatial argument.
It's a spatial argument, but it's also speed-wise. It's just like being hit by an SUV, of course, that's
tricky.
Yeah. That's not good. And like with a cargo bike, it's just, you can do the same things as you can do with a car, but then you will take up less space. For if you are driving your kid around, for the kid, it will be a great experience.
Did you notice that with your children, like how they behave when in the back of the car versus in the cargo bike?
In the cargo bike, they see everything. They talk about everything. They're like, "Mom, do you see this?" And it's because the car, of course, it's like you have everything around you, what you can see in the car.
Within the vehicle.
You're within the vehicle, and you're in the back, and now you're actually in the front. That's I think what the experience made so amazing, that it was just seeing them.
It's much more of a social interaction while doing your travel at the same time.
And apparently the Dutch kids are the most happiest. That's what they say.
It's all because of the cargo bikes.
So maybe it's related.
No studies yet, but that could definitely be a factor.
We don't know.
And what would it take for the cargo bike to be as popular in, let's start with New York as it is here, because it does sound like the ingredients are there. You've got the density, you've got a decent cycle network in some areas.
And it's flat, which you actually don't need with the electric cargo bikes because it's pretty easy. I must say it's changing already, the landscape. When I just arrived, there were no cargo bikes. And over the last few years, I've seen them coming more and more. So it's also the bike companies.
Right.
They
just
need to start
the market.
selling it. So and they were hesitant, like in the first place, to start doing that.
But they've settled. Like there's on offer.
There's a shift happening. But then still, we need to continue advocating for safer streets. So the infrastructure also needs to change. And I think a big part of it is also educating people, because like we as Dutchies know, you grow up riding a bike. That's the first thing. If you grow up like driving the car or going everywhere by car, and then your own mindset is like, oh, when I'm 16, I can actually drive my own car. That's not going to change what we have right now. So
it's an intergenerational.
We need to start somewhere, like also showing people like this is another option. It's more a cultural shift as well.
And for kids to grow up in a bike on the street with their eyes, and the connection with the city is much more intense. That takes decades, right?
You have a cargo bike, right?
I have a cargo bike, and I totally see your point. And my kids love the cargo bike. Even the youngest one, who's like 7 months old, she already enjoys and laughs all the time when she's in the cargo bike, which is great. So it's a real social event when we get in a bike, which is nice.
Did you ever pick up your Christmas tree?
I did actually pick up my Christmas tree in the cargo bike every year so far. So it's
that's such a Dutch thing.
It is a very Dutch thing, but it's extremely handy. And actually, I read that the sustainability of a Christmas tree is mostly defined by the way you pick it up. So most of the emissions are because you drive a car to the Christmas tree shop, which is funny. So that was a nice little addition there. So for us, we don't have a car, and it's definitely a full car replacement for every trip within the city or just outside. We only use a car if we go to the countryside further afield. So it's
well, you can actually use the cargo bike then too.
You can, but if it's 40 miles, it's a long cargo bike ride. Okay, so that sounds promising. And do you think New York needs to change anything in the way they design their infrastructure or their bike parking maybe for this to really take off?
I think, that's my opinion, but it's okay. First thing, it's good that they are building the infrastructure for cyclists in general. But then improving it, I think we need more bike paths. But also they can maybe become a little bit wider. And like bike parking for cargo bikes, I haven't seen it yet. No,
that's a real challenge, because they are they're quite long and wide and expensive, right?
They are, and I know that's here a problem, and that's why they track all those bikes. I have not seen it as a problem yet in the US, but I think because it's not that popular yet, it might happen in the future.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sounds hopeful. Cargo bikes taking off in New York City, I think, is a really good
it's like the next
cultural shift.
Cargo bike, I call it the bakfiets generation.
Yeah, but once they're riding, they really stand out. So I think that snowball effect is real. So we'll see where we stand in 10 years and see if New York is swarming with.
Then I will come back and I have one myself.
Yeah, nice. All right. Thank you for joining us on this Mobycon Academy Spotlight session, and we'll see you next time.